returned after a 10-year absence, sailed into a backflip, cracked vertebrae and a dislocated hip. Now, here's last year's Miss Bud, and then this year's. The difference, that closed cockpit. The main, everything started routine, but Bernie Little's driver says he had one of the closest calls he's had.
Well, I love the canopy. The guys, I tell you what, like I said, there was two of them between him and me, and I had lane one, and I got in there, but he had a turning speed on me. When he came out, he just really got...
Left win, he's 56.
From Miami, this is the 15th annual Budweiser Unlimited Hydroplane Regatta. Brought to you by Ford and your local Ford dealer, and by Walker Muffler, featuring the Advantage Muffler. It puts rust at a disadvantage.
For the 15th consecutive year, the Unlimited Hydroplanes are in Miami, Florida. And as is the case in 1985, this is the season opener. Hello, everybody. I'm Don Poyer, and welcome to Miami. The defending champion of this race and the defending national champion at high points is the Miss Budweiser. And as many of you know, the boat owner, Bernie Little, has a new boat for 1985, the 8th for Bernie under the Budweiser colors. However, a little more than a week and a half ago, during its first testing in Seattle, there was a faulty cap on the fuel tank. It allowed fuel into the chamber housing a battery, and as a result, there was a major explosion. Somehow the crew was able to get the boat repaired. They left early Thursday morning from Seattle and pulled into the pits here in Miami early Sunday morning. But again, luck was not on the side of the Budweiser. It was unable to qualify. They'll wait another week in Syracuse. Jim Hendrick, who will be joining me again here with the Hydros in 1985, is with boat owner Bernie Little and driver Jim Kropfeld. Jim?
The word for the day of the Budweiser camp, Don, has to be disappointment. Right, owner Bernie Little?
Yeah, it sure is disappointment. They've come a long way to get here. Got here at 6 this morning. Miss Budweiser's never been in the water. Jim Kropfeld took it out, and we had some problems. But we're going to stay on and test this afternoon and test tomorrow, and we'll get it all together for New York.
And the driver, Jim Kropfeld, no ride today.
No ride, but it's still exciting being here with the new cockpit design on the Miss Budweiser, and we're going to try that out, get everything perfected. We'll be ready next week.
And another boat that made it just under the gun for this race, and Don Poyer has that story.
Jim, I'm with Chip Hanauer, the driver of the Miller American. It didn't qualify until just this morning, Jim. Cutting it close, Chip.
Too close. I didn't sleep too well last night. It's been a long time since I went to bed on a Saturday night and I've been qualified.
Well, good luck today. Boat running well?
It's hard to tell. We only got one lap on the boat all weekend long, so we're just going to have to take it one lap at a time.
All right. Best of luck to you.
Thank you. We'll need that.
Okay. All right. Jim Hendrick now has the rundown for Heat 1A.
And as you well know, Don Poyer, there are only 6 boats qualified for this season opener, so they'll run 3 and 3. And in fact, in the first heat, 1A, the 3 fastest qualifiers will compete. Heat 1A will see the 7-11 with Steve Reynolds. He checked in at 109.5 earlier this week. The Executone Telephone, driven by Scott Pierce this year, at 113.2. And the Miller American, with Chip Hanauer at the wheel, checked in the fastest qualifier at 122.0. And there's plenty of action coming up in Heat 1B, and Don Poyer, you have that lineup.
That we do, Jim. 3 more boats qualifying for Heat 1B. Let's take a look at the lineup. All the Kenny Toyota Volvo. Leif Borgerson coming back into racing after a 10-year vacation. He's in that boat. The Eagle Snacks with Todd Yarling. He qualified at 101.7 miles per hour. The third boat in that heat will be the American Speedy Printing, with rookie driver Coker coming in to compete and qualified at a speed of 107.8 miles per hour. So there's your lineup for Heat 1A and 1B. We're in Miami, race number 1 of 1985, coming up. Major concern here in Miami is the weather. The temperature is in the mid-90s. The humidity level around 75%. So it'll be tough on all the engines, the turbines, the Griffins, Merlins, you name it. Here's the rundown for Heat 1A. The top 3 qualifiers, ironically, the 7-11 Executone and Miller American, with Chip Hanauer the top qualifier. A look at the drivers. Steve Reynolds in his first year under the 7-Eleven colors, the red, white, and blue. That's the turbine-powered boat. Going against him, Scott Pierce, his first year with Executone telephones and his first ride in a boat. And making it go is Chip Hanauer in the Miller American, another turbine-powered boat. The three boats are now coming around the west turn here at Marine Stadium, and it appears on the left side of your screen, that's the 7-Eleven. Steve Reynolds is taking it back into the pits, evidently problems for him. In the meantime, right side of your screen, Executone telephones with Scotty Pierce, and he has jumped the gun badly. As you see the stripe buoy, he just went by. He has jumped the gun, and right now that man, Chip Hanauer, is in first place, because when any time you jump the gun, of course, you're penalized one lap. Executone telephones and Scotty Pierce physically in first place, but already penalized, and Chip Hanauer now merely has to keep that engine going to pick up 400 points. A two-boat race. We started with 3 here in the first heat of 1985. Going down the backstretch on this 1 2/3 course, very short, is Scott Pierce leading Chip Hanauer, but of course Chip knows, probably has a pretty good idea that he is in first place. He has his own stopwatch as well as the digital readout that the drivers see when they go across the starting line. Into the west turn, a piston engine Merlin. That's for Executone telephones, the turbine power for Chip Hanauer and the Miller American. Scott Pierce maybe a little nervous, maybe a little excited, trying to get a better start. As you see Steve Reynolds coming in, talking with Steve Woomer, the boat owner. Again, back to Executone telephones, and Scott Pierce maybe trying to prove to his owners and his sponsor that he can drive in a hot boat, but he made a critical mistake. It's that simple as they come around now the east turn in Marine Stadium. The boat only a couple of years old. It was designed and built by Jim Lucero, the principal owner, of course, for the Miller American, the boat in second place. But as you see, Chip Hanauer, the 30-year-old out of Seattle, Washington, moving up on his fellow Seattle native, Scotty Pierce, and he's coming out on the outside in the red and white Miller American. Scotty Pierce in a dogfight right now. He thinks so anyway, as he goes against Chip Hanauer. Past the patrol boat, and again, hanging on to the skid fin on the left side of these boats. That helps them stay in their lane and make those turns as sharp as possible. Chip Hanauer giving chase to Scotty Pierce. You see Dan High, that is the crew chief for Executone telephones. He knows already that Scotty Pierce has jumped the gun. Scott, however, if he can keep the engine going, will pick up 300 points, being the only other boat out here, along with Chip Hanauer. He would get a second-place finish. Chip right now making a move to go around the Executone telephones as they come into the east turn, and you see the grandstand. Better than 25,000 people sitting in there watching on a very hot Miami day. Scott Pierce out of Seattle, Washington, another 30-year-old, as is Chip Hanauer, has been driving the Unlimited for 5 years. He's a versatile young man. He, of course, worked on the engines. He has worked on engines for the Budweiser camp, many other camps, and finally getting a chance to perform with good equipment. Again, Chip Hanauer playing a little cat and mouse, going around the outside hip of Scotty Pierce and the Executone telephones. The familiar design of a Lucero-built boat with the low cowling. There's Jim Lucero watching right now. His boat is in first place, technically, because of the jumping of the gun by Scotty Pierce and the Executone telephones. Chip Hanauer making a move now, trying to go around Scotty Pierce, giving a good show anyway for the people here in Miami. Going down the back chute again. They go 6 laps here on this short course. Shortest course on the entire circuit of 1 2/3 miles. Normally they race on a 2-mile or 2.5-mile course. And now you see it appears that, yes, Chip Hanauer's gone up deck to deck now with Scotty Pierce. Nice little race going down the back chute. 2 boats in their second year of competition. A new sponsor for the Miller American, and that being the Jim Lucero, Fran Muncie racing team. That was the Atlas Van Lines last year, and of course Atlas Van Lines was in racing for 17 years. As you see, Chip Hanauer going past Scotty Pierce, and in fact it looks like the Executone telephone, yes, it is going dead in the water. So now the only boat running is Chip Hanauer and the Miller American, the boat that ironically qualified at 122 miles per hour, but on Sunday morning they were unable to qualify on Saturday, but problems for Scotty Pierce. And of course the Executone telephones team, Danny High and company, not happy with what they see. They won't get any points now. A DNF did not finish here in Heat 1A. So Chip Hanauer in a cakewalk now. All he has to do is finish the 6 laps and go on home with 400 points and wait for the next flight of heats and then into the final. Jim Lucero not having to do a lot of work on this boat throughout the winter. It was basically dialed in and ready to go. Let's see if they can keep it running the rest of the day as Chip Hanauer picks up the checkered flag. 400 points and the winner of Heat 1A. The pick for Heat 1A is quite simple. 400 big ones for Miller American and much work ahead of Executone Telephones and 7-Eleven. To Jim Henrik in the pits.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, Chip. You started out the season right after some scares earlier this week.
Yeah, this has been a funny weekend. We couldn't qualify Friday or Saturday, and it's the first time I've gone to bed not being a qualifier in some time, so it had me worried.
Qualified this morning, that's the fastest at 1:22, and then win your first heat. Not too bad.
Yeah, we'll take that so far. I wish that would have been the final, but no such luck.
Right now, Don Poyer is over to someone who was not as fortunate, and we're talking about Steve Reynolds in the 7-Eleven. Don?
Hey, Steve-O, this is something like last year. My goodness, what happened?
Well, I think we got a little salt water in there, and what it's done is it's shorted out one of the igniters. So basically what it does, it gives me an erratic reading. I just couldn't afford to lose a motor, so I brought it back in. It was compressor stalling, though, because we were getting an erratic spark to the engine.
Now, you've got a different water separator now to help keep the water and the salt out of there as opposed to last year.
Well, what we didn't know was, though, Don, you know, what the salt spray in the air from the rooster tails is going to do to the engine. I still think we've got 90% of it licked, but still got the problem, you know, 10% is bad.
3 more boats and Heat 1B coming up in just a moment.